Hi, guys. Welcome to Threads Podcast Life Unfiltered. My name is Jason.
I'm Ben.
And this is Ben. And this is our special guest tonight, Eric Zane. Hi, Eric.
Hi, guys.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
So Threads is a space for us to share stories about life unfiltered. I wanted to share the concept of Threads Podcast from our guest from last week, Sam. She said, if I had just heard the segment about transgender people, I might have been upset, but just hearing the whole thing really helped me to paint context and helped me to realize that you guys are not looking to my political statements or anything. You're truly just having an honest conversation, which is incredible and very important in this polarized time. So I just want to thank you both for doing the podcast. So that was our transgender person and Sam. It was
what a thing.
That was something.
I mean, you had that all that dialogue, and then I saw an email exchange between there was a family member who
Sam's girlfriend's dad.
Yeah, and
and
he was
world.
So it was all tied in, and he included me in the email about how he found out about you guys, and then it's like, oh, they're talking about it, and then all of a sudden Sam's a guest, so that's awesome.
It was a weird way to get to where we needed to get.
And it's a very radio way to do it, by the way, in my opinion. It just seems like one of those things, you never know who's listening.
It was very bizarre. Well, of course, he heard, or whoever, I don't know if it was Shane that listened to the podcast, but he heard from your podcast about us and then went through. So at first we were excited that it wasn't through you, because I mean, come on, like. but then when we found out, I'm like, okay, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, it'll work out. However you get there. By the way, thank you. They bought me non-alcoholic beer. Jason and Ben.
I'm gonna try one.
I appreciate it.
Because I've never had one, and
okay. Well, as we all know, Busch isn't exactly Founders.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's like Busch, but just less flavorful.
Yeah.
So that might actually be a better thing if you.
I'm like a beer snob, so when I was at Meijer today, I was like, oh gosh, where is this?
It's
stuff?
the lightest of light beer. And for those who don't know, your audience members, I don't drink alcohol. I used to drink beer a lot, but I'm a recovering alcoholic. And then I discovered these, and I was a little bit concerned about whether or not I should be drinking these.
Yeah.
But then I've had no urge to ever step up my game and fall off the wagon ever. Not even an inkling.
That's amazing. That you can do that.
I don't recommend that for this though, for someone who's recovering, unless it's way in the rearview mirror maybe, but because it was a long time ago that I did.
Yeah.
But cheers.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers.
Let me crack one. You want one, Ben?
I'm good for now.
I had a feeling. That's why I didn't even offer. You had a look on your face like, oh boy, forget
That's not Founders.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
See what I mean?
It's pretty light.
See what I mean about very little flavor?
Yeah, there's not much there.
No.
Gunner was down in those the other night, though.
Oh, and that's the thing. You don't ever really oh yeah, give me another one, because when you're drinking, at least for me, from my standpoint, I'm always like, oh yeah, let's go, woo.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like it doesn't do anything. It does nothing. It's a teaspoon of alcohol per 12 ounces.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
So that's remarkably low.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So you want to introduce the episode, Ben?
Yeah, so today we have, obviously, Eric Zane with us. It is pretty exciting. We reached out to Eric probably about 2 months ago now, and we were just thinking of how can we make this podcast go further? Our friends and family listen to it, and that's great. But you can only stand so much feedback from your mom before you're like, come on, somebody else listen to this, please.
Sure.
So we kind of thought about our audience. Jason's been a big fan of yours for many years. I've tuned into free beer and hot wings over the years as well. And so we just said, you know what? Zane's got a pretty solid audience.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some crossover in there. Let's give this a whirl. Let's see if he's interested. So we did.
Yeah, and it and to your credit, because you were persistent, because first it kind of kept slipping my mind.
Sure.
And then you're like, so hey, you want to do this? I was like, oh yeah, we should do this. We should form a partnership, and I'll kind of commit to introducing you to the audience. with full transparency here, they hired me to introduce them to my audience. But
I think everyone got that.
Yeah, it's been very, very good. I mean, I've gotten nothing but positive feedback about you guys, and so that is awesome. I'm very happy that it. I mean, you had a plan, and it seems to be working because you're getting a lot of people who are checking out your show, and they like it. So that's excellent.
Yeah.
We have people that are binge listening. I mean, starting with episode 1 and going all the way to 22.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's all. That's in this day and age, man. It's all about people just want to hear conversations. They just want to hear content, and it's a real life book on tape.
Yeah.
You know, that's all this is.
Yeah. Exactly. And I know what I was wondering if you were going to pair up with us because we're both podcasts, right? Not that we're competing with you, but we're in kind of different lanes a little bit. So I think that helps.
Yeah. And in terms of podcasters, what I've learned from other podcasters is that podcasters always help other podcasters.
Yeah.
It's always about that.
It's not like radio.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Territorial.
It is nothing like that. There is no there is no fighting like that, and that's one of the things that I'm really glad to have shed, because granted, it's tough building a business from the ground up and trying to support ourselves. Fortunately, I had the footprint from the years here in town, so I had a luxury that I'm always cognizant of to be able to help support the family. But oh God! Now I already lost my train of thought. But it's all about focusing on
share or no fighting.
Right. In radio, it's a little different. You know, without that stress of ratings, books, and competition.
Sure.
That is a game changer for my brain. It really is, because the pressure was because I really couldn't make a mark when I was going against my old show.
No.
They're like a 900-pound gorilla, and I gave it my best, but it was not to be, and they slaughtered, and they still do. So I was like, oh geez. So I that's it. I was expected to do it, didn't. So you're out.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to deal with that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah, and it's fun.
So why don't you just give us a brief overview of your life and job and how you ended up in Grand Rapids, and then we can kind of just ask some.
Man.
We got a list of questions.
Oh that's fantastic. It all started back in high school. I had my high school at a radio station. Now my high school started at 10th grade. And then in 9th grade, the guidance counselor comes in and says, there's a radio program at Cousino Senior High School. They have a radio station. Does anybody want to try? And there's like 5-6 people that said, hey, we'll try it. Now, I listened to a lot of morning radio at that age. So I listened to a show in Detroit called JJ and the Morning Crew on WRIF and WLOZ, and they did a lot of like wacky voices and stuff like that. So I would mimic their voices that they did. And so when you get in front of this guidance counselor, I'm like doing these things, and he thought, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You know, and we never get this. So he invited me into the program. And then so progressed throughout high school and then on to college, but I had no intention of doing this in college. And it was crazy because after the first semester of doing awful, and you know, I didn't even know what I wanted to do at that point.
Yeah.
I discovered the radio station at Central Michigan University and said, hey, you know, I think I can do that. I did it in high school. It might be fun. All of a sudden, I'm sucked into the program and off and running.
Yeah, but you didn't get your degree in that.
No, because what had happened was I then part of the curriculum was to do an internship. I did an internship in Detroit, and then when I got at the Riff, the station that I grew up listening to, so that was neat.
Yeah,
and then and that comes back around later, because then I went back to college after the summer and I started doing a morning show, and I then sent tape of my work to a station in Midland, and they hired me as like an overnight jock on the weekend for $5 an hour.
Oh man!
And so
big
it was,
money.
Yeah, you know, that was that. And I was working at McDonald's, going to school, and doing that. And then I quit school because I said I don't need it now. I can do this.
I'm making $5 an
Right.
hour.
And I progressed through the radio station, but I was kind of like the guy playing, talking between songs. I was a DJ.
Yeah, ramping records.
Yeah, you know, and I started to become unfulfilled with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, excuse me, I got a burp. Oh, it's stuck. You ever have that?
Oh,
It's just right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight it off. Then I went back to school for an entirely different degree. Got the degree in exercise science, which is like cardiac rehab and stuff like that. I was gonna be the guy who, when you need a stress test, I was going to be a
yeah.
stress test administrator.
Okay.
So not physical therapy or anything like
Well,
that?
that's was part of it, but
Sure.
no, I wanted to put a patient on a treadmill, put their leads on, put them through a stress test, run the EKG, run my interpretation of it, present it to the physician, who would then say to the patient his own interpretation, and then I would just aid the physician.
Yeah.
And then just when I was I was graduating and going to quit the radio job because I got my degree.
Yeah,
I'm going
you're
to
gonna
then
move
go
on.
into the field.
Yeah.
They offered me mornings.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
then I was like, all right, let's see how it goes. And, it was enough to support my family. I already had kids at the time.
Wow.
So then we were off and running and doing morning drive, and I never stopped doing that. I've never done anything with a degree, but whatever.
Before we go on, I have to about the degree. Do you know Jason Ross?
Yes.
He's my chiropractor.
Yeah.
I actually saw him last night. He's like, I told him about.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, tell
Yes.
Zane I said hi.
Train out pain.
Yes.
The best.
Do you go there?
I have. I've
Okay.
been there many times. Chiropractor in name only.
That's it.
Okay, because he could be your first sponsor.
We talked about it.
You could. I would. Hey, man, I'll tell you what. The guy is a miracle worker.
Yeah.
Quick story. One time I was getting treatment, and I'll never forget this because I'm laying on my back, and he tests the strength of my legs. He goes, I'm going to try to push your leg closer to the other one.
Right.
Like it's in a Y shape. I'm
Yeah.
like there with my legs spread. And he says, I'm going to push your legs together. Try to keep me from doing it.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep him from doing it, and he effortlessly closed my legs.
Oh.
And then, I swear to God, he walked up to an area just above my heart and rubbed it like this. And I could feel him. I'm like, ow, come on. And then he goes, okay, now I'm going to try it again. And I had the strength of Thor.
Really?
I swear. I don't know what he did. I'm like, you're a voodoo doctor.
Yeah.
You're,
He beats the shit out of me when I go there. I'm like, I almost cry.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
on the
man.
verge of crying.
He's fantastic. But so anyway, I did the college thing, and then raising a family, worked my way up through radio, and then met my show that I really made my name with was Free Beer and Hot Wings. But before that, I went back to that station called The Riff, where I did internship, and I worked there for a short while, which propelled me to go to Knoxville, Tennessee. Eventually met up with Free Beer and Hot Wings, and we started had a nice little. We have a syndication deal where the show was heard in like other towns and stuff like that, and that started upon getting a job offer to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan from New Jersey, where we were working. Well, the New Jersey station wanted to keep us on, so they said, "Hey, what do you say we broadcast your show, and from Grand Rapids, we can figure out a way to do that." And I said. And we're like, yeah, I think we can do that. So that started this syndication, and then by word of mouth, we picked stations up, and it was nice. That came to an end in 2016. You ever outgrow or it just people who you're really close with, it just falls apart, like the story of the Beatles or something like that.
Yep.
This was one of those. It was really weird because we had really done a lot of great things together, but over time, we weren't really that great of friends, at least for me.
Yeah.
And then I think it just got a little long in the tooth, if you will. Did you ever, because when you listened to Jason, I don't know if you ever were able to detect it, but as it wore on and the end of the time, I was getting more aggravated and upset with things and stuff like that. So at the end of the day,
you can definitely hear it.
Yeah, it got ugly, and then I got in trouble, and the management was like, "Oh, he's more trouble than he's worth. Let's cut him loose." So they did.
Which I disagree. I mean, I'm not trying to kiss your ass.
No, it's all right.
But I actually stopped listening to the show because you're the part. Because I think you and I are kind of like, we kind of say what's on our mind. You know what I mean? And sometimes it might ruffle little feathers.
I get it.
And I was drawn to that.
I understand, and I think that they knew that was the risk that they were taking by eliminating me. That does fragment the audience. It's very risky business to do. It's unfortunate. I don't like that it happened. I feel bad that people that had been replicated. Many people like you left, But, I mean, I was a polarizing person on that show. There's a lot of people who did not like me on that show in terms
I'm
of fans,
sure.
and that's kind of the way it goes,
Well, that's
man.
when you're that kind of personality.
Yeah,
There's a love-hate relationship.
So they experienced, I don't think, any real drop-off.
Really?
The only thing that happened was when I signed on WBBL, there was a very quick influx of audience, but it wasn't that great in my opinion.
So they didn't stick around much?
Yeah, they just wanted to hear it, and then like the first
they want to hear the drama. They want to hear the story.
That's what I think, because I was still trying to find my way then, and I wasn't that great at it. So, it just didn't really pan out after that.
What was it like to lead a show when you were just you rolled? I mean, because the joke on Fever and Hot Wings, man, you would roll in and running to your seat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember them joking about that.
Well, yeah, the preparation was dramatically different.
Yeah.
And so I had to adjust to the new normal, but I was constantly frightened, very fearful.
I bet.
And, it was tough to perform in that regard, at least initially. It started to come around late, and I felt more comfortable, and I don't have any obviously doing a one-man podcast now.
Way more work.
There's a lot more work in that. I mean,
it's a lot of hats to wear.
Every single day, you're the producer, engineer, head salesperson,
marketing.
You're the talent. You're all of those things.
Yeah.
And but I really enjoy it too. So
there's a lot of freedom with that too.
Yeah, the only person I have to yell at is me.
Right.
When things don't get done.
Right.
And
exactly.
I don't pout and cry when I get yelled at.
Right.
So that's
right.
a good thing.
Yep.
So.
So let's then. You want to just jump into the questions, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear the answer to this first question.
Yeah,
because I'm sure you've had a couple.
So tell me a creepy fan story. I mean, everyone has
okay.
super fan. Like I already can pick out the super fans on your podcast.
Yeah.
Other than Dean, that's different. But there's a couple other people that I can just tell are just obsessed.
Well, it's crazy because what?
Do you have any stalkers?
No, I could never categorize anybody as a stalker. I call Pellerito Stalkerito out of affection, and I insisted that he put a toilet camera in my commode. But no, what I think there was one time in New Jersey when some guy and I can't even call it a stalker. I think I somehow have cornered the market on making audience members feel like that's that they're comfortable enough to approach the house.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, but I still can't say that it fits into this
I thought you were going to say
a danger stalker.
I thought you were going to say it comfortable to approach you, and then you said house, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, anybody who has ever come to the house, I haven't really. I've made myself very open to them.
Okay.
So I have a very rare what do you call it, relationship with my audience members, because it's beyond just an audience level. It isn't just someone listening. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have what I have now with the podcast, because the audience built me a studio. The audience members,
Really?
the audience
Wow.
members, out of the kindness of their hearts, have done some really amazing things that I promised I would never ever share because they're so kind.
Okay.
So, there was one incident in New Jersey where a guy, and I wouldn't even, it isn't what I'm about to say isn't even much different than what happens now, but I was much younger then, so I didn't know how to handle it. But there was a guy who was a sanitation worker who I had said how
Is
much.
that like a nice way of saying garbage
It is.
man?
It sure is a garbage man. And the garbage man found some comic books thrown in someone's trash, and he knew that I like comic books.
Yeah.
So he knocked on my door and gave me the comic books. He found out where I lived, and I really had a hard time with that. But looking back now on the way I am with the audience, I'm always very like, hey, more the merrier, wrapping my arms around these people. And that has turned out to be the biggest blessing ever.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying, hey, everybody, come on over my house.
Right.
Because in this day and age, everybody's home is easily found.
Yeah.
So, But I'm not really worried about that because I have a million guns. So that
Well, that brings us into the next question
Yeah.
I actually had
Good
in there.
transition
It
there.
says
That was
you're
good.
you're a CPL holder.
Yeah.
And I am too.
good.
And so, what was the driving force for you to get that CPL? Because you seem to talk about it like
Yeah.
after the Free Beer and Hot Wings transition.
I had it then. I didn't.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did, and I wasn't supposed to carry that pistol inside of the radio station,
Right.
but I took it everywhere. I took it. I absolutely carried it inside
Okay.
the radio station because, I just don't like it to. I don't like to think that I would be helpless in a world where at any moment, at the drop of a hat, a terrible thing can take place.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will always. I'm just very concerned about that, and I don't want to be caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
If I am faced with someone threatening me or another person who is an innocent person on the street,
Right.
that's what I have to do. So
Yeah.
there's just too much at stake to not, in my opinion,
Okay.
be armed
Okay.
at all times. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Interesting. So I wanted to jump into some God questions. I know we kind of.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
it's
Here
Good
we
Friday.
are. Good Friday. My
Friday.
goodness.
Do you got does your church have a Monday Thursday service or not? You're
We
like, what
go
is that?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Oh wow.
So because Holy Thursday is very important, and then Good Friday is also, and then if you do the Saturday thing in the Catholic faith, that's the vigil. That's the time where the new members are like people who've been going through who are converting are then baptized, or they have their confirmation, first communion, like adults.
Yeah.
Who are initiated in the church on the Easter Vigil, which happens at night tomorrow night.
Okay.
It's about a 3.5 hour mass.
Oh, man.
It's
Whoa.
the Super Bowl of the
dedication.
Catholic faith. I keep saying faith.
Faith.
Yeah, that's
That's
twice.
twice I've said it.
Yeah.
Catholic faith. Ooh, it's the teaspoon of alcohol.
Must be.
Yeah.
You need to ride
So,
home?
Anyway.
So we were. This is the only article we have. I just saw it, and I wanted to talk about your Lent. I know you were struggling with Lent, and I've never understood the Lent thing.
Yeah.
We never did I started out Christian Reform, but now we're kind of undenominational. But we never did the Lent thing.
Yeah.
So how did you rally after there? Because I know we talked about it when we were on your show.
I went to Mass. I haven't missed Mass since we last met.
Okay.
But I didn't go to confession beforehand.
Okay.
So I'm continuing to commit mortal sins.
Okay.
So it is terrible. But, if I were, God, I'm just, it's been awful.
This turns your life upside down. You're all of a sudden like, now you're a home-based business.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's weak. Me having a bad Lent, not doing what I normally like to do during the Lenten season, is absurd. It's a real. We talked about this before. It's a lack of balance.
Mm-hmm.
I have let myself become consumed by my work,
Yeah.
and that's not good for anyone, I think. It could be you then disregard your family, or you disregard other things in your life that are important to you. So I got to fix that. So
Well, when you're the everything, I mean, that's tough. I mean, I'm not giving you an
it's
excuse.
out of fear. It's out of fear. I get.
This is what Jason does. He always finds a way to give somebody an out.
well.
Well, and that's what he crapped on us about, that I should have gave you shit
Yeah,
about the
I
basketball
know.
hoop.
Oh, you were so ruined about that hoop. I was like, listen to Ben. He's like really, really torqued about this basketball
It's
hoop.
only because my wife was twerked about. What did you say?
Twerked?
Did I say torqued? I meant
No,
torqued.
he said
Okay.
it.
Torqued
No,
off.
twerked?
I don't know.
I say a lot of words funny. It's okay.
I do too. But anyways, this story is actually out of Detroit, that they for Lent they allow muskrat. So
As meat?
As
correct.
meat, yes.
You can eat. Yeah. So it's
Who said this? The church?
It's yes.
Must
Oh,
be.
come on.
It says muskrat meat prior to annual muskrat dinner at the Monroe Boat Club in Monroe, Michigan. Roman Catholics are obligated to abstain from eating meat on Fridays as part of their Lenten penance, except in the Detroit area, that is, where the faithful are free to dine on a certain rodent. The Archdiocese of Detroit says there's a long-standing permission dating to the region's missionary history in the 1700s to permit the consumption muskrat on the days of abstinence, including Friday of Lent.
So, what's for dinner tonight?
Yeah, let's go. I'm just going to eat a fillet of fish. Come on now.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, really.
They say it tastes like duck. I've never had duck, but I heard that it's greasy.
And it's a rodent, you said.
Yeah.
Wow, this is the first I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I guess.
No thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you growing up on that side of the state, I thought maybe you had heard of it, but
no. I've never heard of that. This is the first time. I thought it was a joke at first. Is this The Onion?
No. This is from MLive.
Yeah. Oh man.
So
wow.
Something.
I don't understand the Lent thing. I just
you mean like the 40 days?
Yeah, like why? So you're giving up something? Like is it just focus on God?
It is to remind you of what God gave up, giving up his life, or when Jesus gave up his life. It is a constant reminder of that. It is an observance, Lenten observance, to go along with the moment in the Catholic calendar.
Yeah.
That the Easter season. So it is a constant. Let's say you give up sugar, and you're constantly craving sugar. It's all tied in. What can I give up in my own little special way that is an observance of Christ giving up his life?
Do you think people actually think about that when they do it?
Yes. I think that the ones that do it, the church does a good job of keeping you focused on it, except for people like me. So I apparently gave up giving up. So, yeah. But, that's basically what it involves. So.
Okay. Interesting. So I was going to jump into some family questions.
Please.
And this is kind of later in your life or whatever, but what has the dynamic been? And I know a little bit of having Jim back in the house with the grandkids. I know that he is moving out soon.
Yeah, I think he's hoping to. I think it's
it's not a done deal?
Well, it isn't a done deal because he's getting set up on where exactly it can be, and there's some waiting game. A couple of people have to move out of one place that they might move into. But yeah, the dynamic changed. Yeah, absolutely. When you have a second family moving in, so I have my 24-year-old son and his 25-year-old girlfriend. Oh gosh, embarrassing. Excuse me. And then the two kids, one of which is autistic. So, I approach this with, it's fine. It is what it is. It's going to be interesting. It's not a permanent thing, and let's just make the best of it. Now, it hasn't been perfect. I've had two blow-ups with Jim, one with Aubrey since September. Not that bad, I don't think. I've enjoyed my time with them. I've learned a lot, and I kind of just keep my mouth shut.
Sure.
Really, and I just let them parent. I don't get involved in the dynamic of the parenting job that they have. I observe most of the time, and if I could talk, I would be constantly saying, do this, do that, do this. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. And I think that's normal, but that's not my place. So
I can't see Jim having a blow up. He's so like, hey.
Oh, I mean, there's such a side that occasionally things happen, and maybe we let our guards down, as in most relationships, and before long somebody's yelling at one or the other, and then but it all seemed to work out. I never remember those things after they go away. But it seems like people in my life, everybody else does remember those things.
That's such a bitch with that kind of stuff.
And I've always hated that. I've always really been. I've never been very patient with people who, when the dust settles and the fight ends, and then you move on, and then they go back. My old partner Ben did that. He did that big time and completely submarined me. And
how's that going lately?
Awful. Well, it was awful. It always will be awful unless he decides to say, hey, man, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Then I'll say, I forgive you for that. Right. And that's okay. I understand what you were going through.
Your show.
But that was a absolute horrible, horrible thing that he did to me. I talked about it. Did you hear me talk about it with Gunner?
Yep.
I got into it a little bit more with Gunner about what went down. And because as I get more distance from it, I'm like, who cares?
Seriously.
You know what? He didn't care about me,
Yeah.
so why should I even care about his feelings at this point if that's the way he's going to be?
Yeah, when I listened to all the BBL stuff podcasts, but he had some issues, and I hope he gets some help. And
Oh, yeah.
I could hear it that he was on the edge all the
Oh
time.
my God, yeah,
and that's a bummer. Y'all had good chemistry.
Yeah,
but
it was okay. I didn't. What I talked to. Who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody just the other day about it was Gunner, about why I invited him on that show was because of his likability. People enjoyed him and liked him.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for. And then it got down to, but if you don't do it the way I want you to do it, you're doing that wrong.
Well,
And-
yeah, you're
and
still the boss.
He couldn't take
regardless.
it. He could not hang. He
And
could
you
not handle that in any way.
Yeah.
Ever.
Even just constructive criticism. Couldn't
Never.
handle
And
it.
if I ever said, get your head out of your ass, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, get out the straitjacket. It's bad news, you know?
Wow.
Oh, it just ruined him every time. Could not deal with it.
That's tough. So you brought up one of your sons has autism, and I put diagnosed grandson. I put infected because I said that last time.
Did you really say?
Well, yeah, you called
because
me.
you were talking about your
Sully.
son.
Sully,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's infected.
Yeah.
It was great.
So how has that affected you?
It's, and you can probably relate. And again, I'm not a father, but I am a grandfather, and I do see. I'm learning my own form of communication with him, and
Yeah,
it's just
sure.
these little things. And when he learns to speak, and he has his own language, and mom and dad are pretty good at deciphering it. There's only one person in the world that speaks it, and that's him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a real mystery as to how that works. It's almost, I hate to say fantastic,
Yeah.
but the way that mind is going is such a mystery. It's staggering to me.
Yeah, and there's such a spectrum with kids on the spectrum of autism. My son is very speech delayed and academic struggles, like he's got a tutor and everything like that. But socially, he's cool. Like
He's
a lot
funny kid.
Yeah, he
It's
is
just fun to be around.
A lot of. I actually have two autistic nephews too, so it's very weird how the genetics are in the family. But
Yeah.
one of their kids is super smart, like has Asperger's and is brilliant, but he couldn't look at you to have a conversation to save his life. So it's always interesting. I feel blessed the level of autism, I don't know what you call it, of our son, because I'm like, he lets me hug him. Like most of those autistic kids are like, don't touch me, freak out, but Sully, you can wrestle with him and stuff like that.
And I think what I've, in talking to other people who have autistic relatives, it's almost like you're on their timeline and you're trying to absorb what they're doing and saying, and it's almost like on their schedule. So it's whatever you can manage. There is no manual on it, I don't think. I mean,
well, there's huge leaps and bounds with therapy now. It's called ABA therapy.
yeah, I know exactly what that is.
And it just started getting covered under health insurance like
Oh, that's huge.
4 or 5 years ago, maybe. Like right when Sully got diagnosed, they're like, "Oh yeah, we cover this now," and we're talking it's $150 an hour.
Yeah.
And when the head person sits in, it's $350 an hour. So it's like you're not paying that out of pocket. I mean, so
well, that's and I've heard about that, and I've heard it is the standard. And what's got me is because again, I'm not the parent. Jim and Aubrey are the parents.
Yeah,
they've gone back and forth, yes and no, on ABA therapy, and I don't know why because but
because he has health insurance, they'll pay for it.
It's all taken care of, but there appears to be a problem that they're not really. The way I'm understanding it, sometimes it can be a little bit abrasive, I guess. And
ABA?
Yeah. Does that sound right? Because I've heard it described as sometimes they have to be very
they're strict.
Stern? Is stern a good word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Mom and Dad, Jim and Aubrey, are down with that.
Okay.
And that's up to them. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I only know that it's known as a terrific thing. So
It's amazing.
that's up to them.
Yeah, I mean, you still, even though they're autistic, you still have to have boundaries and those kind of things because the autistic kids thrive on structure and boundaries. If you just kind of willy-nilly and stuff around and you surprise them with something, freak out. Like they want the same thing to eat every day. They want to go to, they go to school. Like, like when Sully's,
that sounds right.
Yeah, when Sully's on break, it's just like, oh man, on spring break, like he's by the end of it, he's just like, wah! You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's all kids too.
It is,
but it's compounded by autism. I would say.
Right. So, well, if he ever wants to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it. It's been an amazing, amazing thing for us. So,
what I've learned over the years with my kids is if I want them to do something, don't suggest it.
It's very true.
I think that's like
very
every.
true.
I let them figure it out.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why I do that as a parent, especially at this age, is because that's the quickest way to get them to find their way is to let them fall, let them do their thing, and that is my mantra. I am a big proponent of figure it out.
Yeah. What age do you recommend starting that approach? I mean, is it too early? With
I think it has.
12-year-olds?
I think you do it
6 months.
I think it's
figure it out.
It's all
Feed
as to
yourself.
what is in their possible palette of skills, whatever they have. So if the 12-year-old is faced with something that a 12-year-old can solve, give them the old "see you later" is awesome because they're gonna F it up. They have to.
Oh yeah.
And if they don't, they won't learn. Just the other day, I did not pay attention, and I put straight gas into my chainsaw. I need a gas oil mixture.
Oh yeah.
I destroyed my chainsaw. I learned. Be more cautious.
Yeah.
There you go. It's kind of like that. They need to fall on their own sword before they. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to have my kids living at home with their kids and not say anything. I'm kind of like you. Like I would have to literally bite my tongue and be like, "Oh, I need to go upstairs and take a break."
Yeah,
this is not happening.
I don't let it. In the amount of time that we've been together, I think we really have done a good job of walling that up and intentionally just like letting them figure their own things out.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm still growing my family and doing my thing, which is going to force Jim and Aubrey out. And here's what I mean by that, because Jackie, my middle child, comes home from college. Now you have another dynamic, okay? And Jim and Aubrey do this. They butt heads all the time.
Really?
So that's like, they're going to want to move out as soon as she moves in.
Yeah.
And so that's
Did you say Jim and Aubrey butt heads or Jim and Jackie?
pardon me, Jim and Jackie.
That's what I
butt
thought.
heads. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for correcting me. And so then there's that, and I know this is going to sound weird, but her boyfriend is also living in the house too.
No, I've heard your stories of her one boyfriend in high school.
Yep.
I can't remember his name.
Ernie.
But you loved him.
Yeah, and I loved him, and he was welcome.
Yeah.
And Justin, same thing. He's welcome too. So now you have that dynamic, and then the new dynamic, and then all the dogs and cats that we have, and then the new dog that just got introduced the other day. This is all the new family. They have to adjust.
Yep.
They're not going to want to be there.
No.
So they're going to be motivated. And if they say, well, what do we do? What do you do? I don't know. You figure it out. I can provide you with a roof and electricity and water and all this stuff just to keep you safe as you work out your issues that you've had to put you in this place. But I'm not going to hold your hand, and I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to live it the way I want to live it. And if you have a problem with that, you can go. You can stay here as long as you want, but you got to follow my rules, and you got to – I don't want to hear you bitching about the dog or your sister. Shut up. You're all grown. You're 24. You're 22. You figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
So
what's the deal with having the boyfriends live there? Like, I'm interested
I know
in
that sounds weird.
No,
and I'm a little concerned about even – I always feel sheepish about discussing it.
But, you don't have to. But
no, I want to.
But my ex-wife, I was married before, her parents moved her sister's boyfriend in like at 16. He was like living in the house. I'm like, what? And they hated me, but whatever. That's a long story for a different day. But I'm just, especially being in the Catholic faith, that's one of the things I had a question on with Jim having a kid out of wedlock.
Yeah.
I did too. So it's nothing new to me.
Sure.
But just wondering how how you feel on all that.
Well, I mean, when it comes to that scenario, I have had much more success in just kind of like shrugging and going with the flow. And happy wife, happy life, and no one else seems to mind, and everybody likes Justin and did like Ernie.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. I mean, it happens. Well, I don't know if it's common to have your, daughter's boyfriend living with you, but
I love my family, and I love I enjoy everybody. I don't have a problem with a soul in that house. So to me, that's all good. And and I get along with them all. If I didn't like the person, it'd be different.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
well, you get along with Jackie, and so that's saying something, right?
oh, she's such a she's gonna hate you.
She was on the show a couple days ago.
She's gonna beat you up over that one.
Yeah, I know. Of course. What do you have? The biggest downloads or the biggest views?
Yeah, when she was on there.
Doubles.
It was
crazy.
When her pretty face is on there on Facebook, it goes from, I usually get, if I'm lucky, I'll get 1,900 on an episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you see me all the time. You
Yeah.
put her on there, boop, it goes right up. Everyone wants to hear hear what she has to say.
Right.
So we're going to jump into some mental health topics.
Sure.
And one of the things is getting fired from Free Beer and Hot Wings. How I remember you talking about it with BBL, but it was. I mean, you were pretty open about it, but it was pretty rough there for a bit, huh?
Yeah, there was a lot working because we had built that show to a height that was really great, and you kind of just think about riding off into the sunset.
You thought that was going to be your last show.
Yeah.
And you should probably go into that with that attitude, I guess.
Right.
But
looking back, I remember coming home from work for a couple years saying, I don't know if this is going to work. I just don't like this. I don't like that. And without getting too specific, I was very, very upset with a lot of what was happening. I sensed the content was changing, and I felt like there was nothing that could be done to change it.
It was a sinking ship, essentially.
Yeah, to me, I felt that.
Sure.
And I was very concerned with that. And I have no idea what anybody else felt, but I also felt like bringing that up would have not been a positive experience, So, all right, then you get fired. All right, that now I'm concerned because this was a job to retire with.
Sure.
And it was a lucrative gig. So all of a sudden you go from that to nothing.
Yeah.
So my self-worth was destroyed. I was panicking that I would not be able to provide for my family. I was very concerned about what I could do in the future. So, I went into that dark spot where I thought about like killing myself twice. And it was bad. It was right at about I got fired in February, so it was all within that early period is when it all started to come at me full force. And every time I thought I was going to be okay, like I'd have a good day talking to maybe a prospective radio station for the next step, and it's going to be great. And then I would start to get alone with my own thoughts, and then oh god, it would be really, really terrible. So that's what it was, and it was a tangible, awful time.
Man.
And I did a lot of counseling. I have some a nice non-addictive medicine that I take that takes the edge off of just about everything. It just makes me.
It's fantastic.
You take something
worked.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I take some Balta. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but
I have heard of that. I have heard of that.
It works great.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are out there if you just can break down the barrier of I don't need anything. This will pass.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Did you feel like people would see you differently if you acknowledged that brokenness?
Nope. No, I didn't. I wasn't concerned about that at all.
Good.
It was weird because when I started on BBL couple of months after I got fired, we had one great month of ratings, and I was like, "Oh, here we go, man! Firing up the machine. I'm the juggernaut. I'm the man." So I stopped taking it.
Okay.
And then I started
How'd
to
that
feel
go?
weird again. It didn't go well at all. It didn't go well at all. And then
Terrible decision.
And then so I got back on. I was like, I'm never not taking this. So that's it. Yeah.
Other than the free beer and hot wings firing, what other major losses have you had to deal with in your life?
Well, my folks are still alive. I had a falling out with a brother, Push Up Paul, he's known as, and we ended up reconciling. Thank goodness, after years and years apart. So that was fantastic. I think the biggest one was my mother-in-law. Her passing right around 2001, I think. 2000 was huge. That was the biggest loss I'd had experienced because she was tremendous. So that's I think the one that stands out the most, which makes me a little scared because this ultimately is a one-way ticket, and that I hate. That'd keep you up at night when you start to think about that. So,
especially your dad. I mean, he's getting up there. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And
Yep.
and he's likes to be a little not crazy, but what's the right word for it? Well, the chainsaw thing, like cutting trees down and falling.
Yeah,
and
I'm just
stuff.
hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping it's. No doubt it'll be a blaze of glory when Dad decides to kick it.
Well,
Oh, man.
it did sound like he was starting to back off a little bit. So at least he said, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that." Like,
Right.
oh,
Yes.
you guys were talking about the getting the chaps and all these. Like, he's like, Eric, you don't have to buy that. I'm not gonna mess with the chainsaw or something like that.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Absolutely. I just bought my chaps today, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
bought my chaps and my helmet, so I'm good to
Oh,
go.
you're safe.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Well, you've talked a lot about family, and I know it comes up quite a bit on your show. And what's the balance there? I mean, do you ever feel like you have to filter and maybe say some things but not others? Or how do you balance being a family guy with being an on-air personality?
When it comes to the podcasting, for sure, I think I've gotten closer to my original self. I don't know why that is.
Sure.
Because it's more revealing. I say some terrible things. I swear all the time on because I do two podcasts every day. I do one for that's free, which is more of a mixed crowd. I mean, I might see my priest on there viewing, and so, I don't necessarily let it fly like a PG-13 or an R-rated movie like I would on the second podcast.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I still swear all the damn time, and I think, and that's just me. So I guess what I don't like these days, and I think. I used to be a lot more graphic sexually, I think, in the things I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I now I cringe. Like I do this bit called the PA pranks when I get people to say nasty names on the PA systems of stores.
Yes.
Stores is entirely different topic.
Sore's face.
Well, it has something to do with
but,
sex content.
But when I try to get the last name Jazad or first name Chuck paged,
Yeah.
I mean I say it and then I'm like just cringing, and then it happens, and then I know it's funny,
It's
but
funny.
it's like, God dang it,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. So, that's about the extent of it. I don't like to get too graphic on a sexual level. I used
Sure.
to do that, and now I cringe now when I hear it. Like when I listen to my old show, and I still do listen to Free Beer. I go. I just wince sometimes, and
well, what changed?
I don't know. I just
Having grandkids?
no.
Like, hey, my grandkids.
I'm not sure. I don't know what happened with me because I used to make those jokes quite a bit too, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna be 50 in a year and a half.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah.
so I like to be biting. I like to ridicule the dumbasses of the world.
Oh,
I like to
yes.
go after the Jussie Smolletts and
What a trip.
and things like that, like anybody would.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I still have to look people in the face. So,
Yeah.
and I've got young daughters.
Yeah.
It's
That'll
just-
do
It's
it.
too much.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I am surprised some of the stuff you do say because I don't know if they listen or not. Or do you tell them not to? Just
No, I don't think Madison listens. I think Jacqueline does sometimes, and she finds it funny.
Does
she
she?
finds it hilarious.
Well, I've heard the stories from her
Oh,
on
yeah.
that end.
Yeah,
and
she's a devil.
Yeah, I'd be like, anything you say on there would not be a problem for her.
No.
But yeah, I wonder if you being by yourself is just a little different element because there's really no one to check you if you.
Yeah, there's no banter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if no one checked me, that's what you get. It's a different show when I have a different person in there.
Yeah.
I'm basically monologuing for extended time with one person.
Yeah.
Does it ever get boring?
No.
Really?
No,
That's
I
good.
always enjoy it. Now, there are times when I'm underprepared, and you may notice it, you may not, but I try not to put myself into that spot.
Sure.
If I'm underprepared, I will ripcord at a short amount of time. My shows always vary in time.
Yeah.
So it's all about what can I talk about? Is there something that interesting about it?
Mm-hmm.
I get no immediate feedback really, so it's a
that-
crapshoot.
That would be tough.
So
Yeah.
you gotta trust that what you're doing, what you're presenting, has oomph.
Yeah.
And then don't wait for a response because you will get none and it will be awkward. So you just gotta get after. You ever listen to Bill Burr? That's what he's doing.
Is he by himself? I've never
Yeah,
listened to
yeah.
him.
And he, Bill Burr, obviously I'm sure has plenty of confidence that what he's saying is funny and quality for his
Sure.
audience.
Yeah.
Right.
You would never hear him waiting for any type of response. He just rolls a file and just talks into a crappy microphone, and it's gold.
Yeah.
I want to be. That's what I would strive to be. If I have that arrow in my quiver to be able to go for a period of time with no let up, and I listen back to it and I say, all right, it kind of had a lull here, but otherwise it was good. If I can keep it up at a certain level
Right.
for an amount of time, that's a winner. And then you can also deal people in. But the hard thing to do, if I can master that first, the rest will come.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Are you looking forward to having those interns in to give a little feed? I know they won't be on mic, but they'll be in the room, so they'll be able to kind of chuckle at stuff.
Yeah, that when I have Leo and Carl in to visit with me, I may be recording when they're in the room. I may not. It all depends on what the schedule lays out at. I'm not. I have an open schedule. Yeah, and I'm interested in letting the dynamic unfold because I'm
Sure.
always a big fan of. It just happens naturally, and then if there's something there, you expose it. You tell the world about it, and it's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could sit down and look at a camera for 45 minutes, like look straight at it and just like. But
I love it. I love it. It's so much fun.
You found your niche though, because early on it was, it's got to be super weird.
Oh my God! I
You're
didn't know
staring in that thing there, and there's no feedback whatsoever.
Right.
So, no, I think you've
Thanks.
hit it.
It's constantly evolving. I will say this: it's if it ever feels like it's a routine, I gotta mix
Change
it up.
it
You
up.
gotta
Mix it
do
up.
something, man.
yeah.
As soon as you get, because if I feel it's a routine, they're gonna feel it's a
Yeah.
routine. So
We noticed that too on our show. Like the first 20 episodes, we had a format and we followed it. Like, this is what we're doing. We've got the God questions. We've got the personal update. We're going to hit all of these. Episode 20 comes and we just kind of started pitching it out the window and kind of winging it.
you're evolving. Your
Yeah.
show is changing because your chemistry's changing, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's really good.
Yeah.
We ask this question pretty much of every guest.
What's that?
We always bring up the therapy.
Oh,
So are
yeah.
you currently, you mentioned Raymond, your therapist.
Raymond. Oh, I love Raymond.
Jason and I are huge fans, big supporters of seeing a counselor and
Yeah.
dealing with your shit.
Oh,
Um,
man.
I am every other week, and then my wife and I go to actually my therapist and do check-ins, just like maintenance.
Yeah.
We
I
don't-
got to get back. It's been since I got fired.
Ooh.
And the thing is, I've got insurance now, so
yeah.
I should do that.
Yeah,
it's just fun to talk to. Believe it or not, this is therapy to me.
You know,
we
we've talked
totally
about
get
that too. Sitting down and not being on your phones and not having all this input, and you're just talking to somebody face to face. Like, how often do you talk to somebody face to face?
Yeah,
Like that?
I know it.
Yeah.
Never.
It's
rare.
become a real rare thing, like you said. So much so that when it does actually happen, you're like, why don't I do this all the time?
Right, because you're like, that was a
pretty-
great,
this is
that was
all-
a
this is
great
fun.
conversation.
I think that's why we continue to do Threads, because it's real talk. Every time we sit down, we're getting into
Yeah,
we're getting deep.
it's better for you than you may have thought. You may have thought, oh well, who knows what'll happen? But in reality, this is a benefit. It's something. It's a perk of the job.
Yeah, to have that undivided attention with your friend and just talking about life and stuff. So you should get back. Should we do a follow up? Him and I always do follow ups too. Like,
by all means. I'm
open
open to everything.
My follow up was I had to tell one person about our podcast.
Did you tell anybody?
And I was actually an Uber passenger. I drove him out to Holland, so I had some time, and I talked about it, and I gave him my business card. He's like, yeah, I'm going to check it out. He goes, what's the rideshare one, too? I'm like, you're not going to want to listen to that one. He goes, no, I want to check that one out, too. This is an educated guy. Like, he's an engineer, and I'm like,
oh, wow. So it wasn't just some punk kid from the airport.
No. And I was like, you're not going to want to listen to rideshare.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not a rideshare driver, you're going to be like, this sucks. I mean, it's good content for that niche, but that's it.
Right.
No one else.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh my, I know you were, before you started podcasting, you were a hater of podcasts. I know. Well, you talk about Joe Rogan. You're like,
some of those are a disaster.
well, I used to listen to every single Joe Rogan's, and now I pick them out because I'm like, I can't commit to 3.5 hours. And if it's just
long.
Yeah. It's such a long podcast.
Man.
Well, yes. And I think that Mark Maron said there's a sweet spot. And I think he said like 45 minutes, 50 minutes is a sweet spot. And I think 45 for me is a goal.
Yeah,
and I rarely hit it. I actually am short on a lot of those.
I think when you have someone that you're interested in, like Joe would be interested.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I just keep talking. I just so enthralled with whoever he's got in there.
And I can absolutely see that. It's fun for him to keep it going. I get it. I really do. The length of Joe Rogan's podcast don't make me critical of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
I just find that sometimes, for me personally, and I'm the minority because 80 billion people listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
I just sometimes my short attention span makes me go, all right, now come on now. Get to something more interesting.
Sure.
Just get on it.
Yeah.
And I don't have the patience to invest that much time into that.
And the only reason I do is because when I'm doing lawn fertilization, I listen to podcasts. So I have 8 hours a day where I can listen to it. In the winter, don't listen to it. I can't sit around I got kids and I can't sit around for 3 hours and listen to a podcast.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to find the right one, you know.
Yeah, I wish yours was longer because I mean I'm obviously a patron member too, but even with that I'm like it's over so quick. I'm
know.
I'm like an hour and a half into work. I'm like, all right, I'm jumping into this next, Joe Rogan or some of the other ones.
I would like to. I'd like to have it as a full show with almost like a radio show with. The guests are scheduled and included in it, and then I have a partner there, and then we're taking phone calls. So it is a radio show, essentially.
Yeah.
I would like, because I'll sometimes publish 4 or 5 a day from an interview I did, and maybe this or that or the other thing. There's really no reason that I can't assemble that all and have it all happen in morning drive.
Right.
But I'm not quite there yet to be able to take all those moving parts and put that puzzle together. So I'm just going to keep doing this while I figure this out.
Yeah.
No.
So
yeah. I mean, it's fine. I just giving you as a fan perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Totally get it.
Although I did get behind in the BBL podcast because in the winter I don't listen to it a lot, and you guys are putting out 3 hours a day, and I'm like, man, I get back to work, I'm like, holy crap, I got like 300 hours to catch up on.
It's funny though because the other day though, like I put out with the Patreon podcast, the total amount of content I put out was like 200 minutes.
Wow.
Which is, and that it's because I had like Dear Meathead, and then I had Ron, and then I had an interview with a NASCAR driver. So
awesome.
it was all there.
What's the Ron thing? Why do you go to that studio? There's something like he wouldn't come to your house?
No, not at all. The first thing we did with him, and then that public television station, WKTV,
They reached out to us.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they wanted.
Yeah,
us
they
to
want content.
They wanted us to record there.
They want podcasts.
Yeah.
And the reason why he said, hey, I'm going to do it there. Do you want to just come and do it? And I learned long ago that Ryan Seacrest always says yes to everything. So I said, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. And now I have a network. I've added them to my network because I have made great friends there. And so it's fun, and I don't get out of the house that much, so I really look forward to that. And in the event that I need top-notch television equipment or hands to help me, they would help me.
Did they ask you to start recording there?
Yes.
You're not. I mean, with all that equipment, you would have a producer then, right?
There is a producer there. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I don't use any of my equipment when I'm there. It's all theirs. So I just go in, sit down, and they put it on a thumb drive. I take the audio home, publish it on my end, and then they post it to their Facebook page, and then I share it. And they get a ton of views on it, so they're happy about that, and it gets more people exposed to their other podcasts that they do. So
we thought about it, but I'm like, I like the flexibility of when we want to record. Like if it's like doesn't work out, they're not open on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. You know.
Wow.
What I mean?
So they reached out to you. That's exciting.
About 6 months ago, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah.
How do you find?
I think they reached out to us in regard. I don't think it was actually Threads. I think it was GR Rideshare.
Okay.
Because we got much more of web hits for GR Rideshare. That's been around.
You know, you can sell that to whatever businesses that would cater to ride sharing, and I don't know what they are. You could absolutely monetize that.
Oh, we're in the process.
We did get a sponsor starting the next one. It's not. We don't have the numbers though. Like, I mean, we're at like 7,000 downloads,
something like that
for GR. You know, so the numbers aren't there for that, but we're trying.
Keep at it.
Yeah, we're trying.
It still has value.
Well, the thing is especially with rideshare driving, there's always people quitting, but there's always new people coming in. So everyone's looking for some guidance in that kind of realm. Like, because, you know, with Uber and Lyft, they're like, okay, you're approved. Have fun. Like, there's no training whatsoever. Not that we're a training podcast, but we do offer tips and stuff because we're all, I mean, probably together, all of us have probably 12 or 15,000 rides. So
are you sharing the interactions on the Rideshare podcast with like stories that you like? If somebody barfs in the backseat of the car, that's going to be told.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
We're an infotainment website, so we talk about information, but we also have entertainment.
Gotcha. All right.
And I think people like the banter too. Like when we have 4 of us in it, so I think it really sometimes it gets. When we were on Wednesday, it got pretty rowdy. You know what I mean? So that's fun. People like that. They like hearing. They like the personality part of it, not just
Yeah,
this is information, bro.
Oh yeah, that's
dry and boring. So, what are your grand plans coming up? I know you've got the non-compete you're coming up on.
Boy,
what's the future of the Eric Zane
I
Show?
do not
podcast?
know. I do not know. Well, I know that the podcast is going to continue to grow. That's my bread and butter now.
Okay.
That is the main thing I do until I'm told otherwise. If Joe Radio owner decides you can do this and this and this and we want you, I guess it could. No, it can't. It can't bump the podcast out. Radio has become a supplement to me at this point.
Because let's face it, no radio station is going to allow you to do that, and because they'll be like, well, you're taking all our advertisers, you're doing all that kind of thing.
I up till 1 week ago, I would have said yes. You're right. However, a show that in Detroit, it just happened where a show took what they're doing is just taking their content from their podcast and putting it on
a radio station
really? On the weekend.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
So they're absolutely doing that. And it just so happens that the radio station that did that is owned by the only one in town here in Grand Rapids that I could possibly work for. So they absolutely have done that.
Well, that's interesting.
And so that affects me because I could easily say, well, you know, you're learning that you can do this with that show in Detroit. That's great. Yeah. I'm glad you're not getting in the way of that. Because, you know, with me, I'm selling to people who would not buy radio. I'm dealing.
Yeah.
You're a great example of that.
Yeah. We would never do that.
Oh, no.
And
that would not be wise.
I can super serve these mom and pop places because my podcast numbers, you can glean like where they're listening from.
Yeah.
And I can sell that. And I can also sell My Pillow with the national platform that I have too. So you can do it all. So I would be a fool to ever agree to committing to like pushing all of this aside.
Right.
I've built it rapidly, and it's been a outpouring of support that it's too big now to just say, well, sorry, I wouldn't do that. It's no longer disposable.
That's interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. I wouldn't, if radio said you got to get rid of it, I'd say, well, I'm going to walk away from the deal then. Thanks, but no thanks. But I'd find another radio station. I'd go to Grand Haven, I'd go to Holland, I'd go to Muskegon, and I'd find a radio station.
So you're only going to stay in GR. You have no. Well,
exactly.
Now that it's becoming more of a staple, even more like I'm not leaving GR. Like,
oh no, this is my home. I've got. Well, I mean, the imprint from the years on the radio has allowed me to get these advertisers on the air on my show because, truth be told, I haven't had to call on anybody. It's been people saying, "Hey, tell me more."
Yeah.
Now
that's awesome.
they don't say I'm giving you money,
Right.
but they say, "Hey,
let's talk about it."
Let's talk about it. And for several of them, I've been able to say, "Well, this is exactly what I have," and I turn my laptop and I go, "Here's who's listening. Do you think we can make something happen?" And they go, "Okay, draw me up what you're thinking, how we can approach this." So then I write some creative things we can do. And I say, "What do you think about this?" Let's do this and this, but let's change this. I go, "All right, sounds good." And then that's the deal. It's all handshake and off we go.
Yeah.
So that has that's the whole sales aspect of it, which I've figured out how to do, and it seems to be okay so far.
Wow, good job.
awesome.
That's
Thank you.
exciting to hear. All right, we'll do one more topic. You think one more question?
Yeah,
or do you-
we got time for one more, as long as you have time for one more.
I wanted to talk about the alcoholism as you grab another beer, fake beer.
I'll try one, by the
NA.
way. I got to give it a try.
There you go, young man.
I mean, it's not terrible.
In
I
fact,
mean,
by the way, officially, it is a malt beverage. They can't
yes.
call it beer. I just call them brewskis.
There you go.
It doesn't say it on that one, but
no, it does say less than 0.5% by volume.
And it is a malt beverage.
there it is, malt beverage.
Brewed from water, barley malt, cereal grains, hops,
Yeah.
and yeast.
I got in touch with a local brewery because
I
I
can't-
mentioned that to you.
Is it moving down the road a little or not?
Well, the way I approach these is I send what I can do, and then I don't bug them.
Okay.
And so I'm in the don't bug them phase.
How do you not do that?
And so I might in a week send a follow-up, but I
Yeah.
talk to the guy in particular and I go, so, hey, two things. A, I want to sell you advertising. B, I want you to make me a fake beer.
well, yeah.
And
Make it as
he
a
goes,
challenge.
He goes, and he said it like this. He goes, you want me to make you a non-alcoholic beer? And he sounded like that. And I go, yeah, maybe that's further down the road. But anyway, this is what I'd like you to do. So if I'm crossing my fingers that I can get this brewery on.
It's actually not bad. I mean, I was a little unconvinced in the beginning. But it's not bad.
The taste is beer-y.
Yeah.
And
little
so
watery,
light,
but-
it's watery.
Yeah.
So light, it's watery, but it doesn't taste gross.
No.
Yeah, I think if you had someone that wanted to get into beer, right? Because I mean, these breweries now. I mean, you drink a dragon's milk, and it's like it's not pasteurized. I mean, you're like throwing up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I gotta stay away from the dark beers. But you could have them try that, and like
Yeah.
this is what beer tastes like, and then to slowly work up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I prefer this over an IPA.
IPAs are like
I
sweaty
cannot
gym
do-
socks.
yeah.
Disgusting.
It's horrible.
You're so glad you're not drinking those. They're
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, well, when I was drinking, I stopped drinking in June of '96, and all you had was like the most exotic beer was Molson.
Yeah, or
Or
Heineken.
Heineken. Or
Yeah.
Corona.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
Heineken's terrible too.
So, that I live in a town where it's like the epicenter for making beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
What an industry,
right.
And so that's just funny.
So I wanted to know what made you stop. What got you to drink? Just high school.
Oh yeah,
This
I
kind of
remember it well.
I just interested. I know you've talked about it a little bit, but
Sure.
Kind of want to.
It was my junior year of high school. Let's start there. It was October of 1987.
I was 3.
Okay. And I went to a party, and it was an after-school party, so it was during the school year. It was right after school. It's daytime. Somebody had a keg, and you pay like $3, and you drink one. This is during the week.
That's crazy.
Day drinking in high school.
Day drinking during the week in high school. And there was a ton of people there, and I had never drank ever, and I was the driver. And then I tried beer, and now I had tasted beer before, but I'd never really consumed it. I didn't have it, and I forced it down. And the immediate response was one of the greatest moments of my life. It was like, wow. So then I drank too much, and I got home. I think my friends actually let me drive.
Oh no.
And so then I had cross-country practice. And I showed up to cross-country practice drunk. And I think we did like mile repeats or something crazy, a real lung burner, just brutal. And I don't remember much more about that after that point. And then I remember because the Mets were in the World Series then. The Mets beat the Red Sox on Bill Buckner when he booted the ball at first base. I remember that vividly. It was a glorious time as I was drunk. It was like the day after that incident happened. From that point on, I didn't stop drinking.
Wow.
And I drank for the rest of high school, college, and then on into with my wife, and then my firstborn, my son Jim was born.
Sure.
Fast forward to June of '96, and it was I went to a golf outing with my old morning show in Saginaw, and I got drunk, got home, and I was supposed to be watching Jim, but I put him in the crib while I laid in bed sleeping it off, and he, messed his diaper, and his skin was all irritated because he had diaper rash, and he's crying and upset, and Dinah comes home from work, and there I am, and she was, all right, that's it. This is it. One more strike, and that's it. No more. So I was like, all right, I gotta dial it back. And so then I started going to AA, and I got help. My brother's a drunk too, so he helped me. And my morning show partner, he's a drunk too, so he helped me. So that was it. And I never had a relapse. I had a lot of drunk dreams.
Interesting.
It's where I was, for several times, I was convinced that I had drank. But I never have. I've never fallen off the wagon once.
That's incredible.
And what's crazy is since I started drinking these, I haven't drinking non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah.
I haven't had a drinking dream. Isn't that weird? You would think now I would have them, but no, not at all. Probably because I'm constantly getting up in the middle of the night to go pee.
Right, you're not getting a full night's sleep because you're drinking these that night.
That would do it.
Yeah. So I don't have any go out and blaze a glory story. Run a stop sign, hit a cop, get pulled over, throw up on somebody's shoes, go to jail, beat somebody up. My wife, I haven't had none of those stories. It didn't get that bad, to her credit.
Yeah. So you did you struggle with relationships? Well, I mean, like how bad was it? You must have been a functioning alcoholic because you go to work every day.
It was not bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't, like I said, it never. Thank God she intervened because it probably would have.
Yeah.
My dad didn't come back around till he was in his 50s when he stopped drinking. And you look back on his life, a lot of more messy scenarios in his life.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was related to alcohol.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Just hearing kind of the side stories and what makes Eric.
Yeah, we got to do this again.
Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
Yes. Yeah, this is great.
I really enjoy your podcast when you have someone on. And
but it's terrible when I'm alone. Is that what you're telling me?
No. But
it is. It is.
I mean, I know you hate Reddit. It's terrible. And I always shit on people that are shitting on you on there because no one knows my name. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to tell what it is either because then they'll know it's me. But the general consensus is everyone does love when you have a guest on.
Oh, good.
So it's not like it's bad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but I mean, it's just, and it's easier for you because guess what? You're not full. You don't have to full the content all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to be clear, when because I don't hate it. What had happened was initially when I got fired and started doing a podcast, I've talked about this. I had about a 1-day grace period.
You mean the BBL or free beer?
When I got fired from BBL and started doing the podcast at home, I had about a 1-day grace period before the hyenas started to circle the carcass or the wounded antelope, which was me.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to not get distracted and put out content. And I started to look at that, and it was tough. It was tough sledding to look at that. And so that was really, I started to feel helpless again, that I don't have any business doing this. And I had a bit of a tortured time for a few days, not exactly like when I was thinking about killing myself.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great. So I said, all right, I got to avoid this because it's a huge distraction. I'll stay away. So that's what that was about, because a lot of people were pretty harsh about it, but I don't want to go back to it.
No, I think it's good, especially, I mean, you're high enough in the celebrity realm that you should stay off it.
Yeah,
you should stay off it.
I've plugged in completely to what I can control, which is the content and the audience members that care, and just it for some reason it does come with the territory, but I don't. It's not a good idea for me.
It's not.
It's just not great for me.
Well, thanks again for being here. Threads is obviously about all those threads in life that tie us together, and fatherhood, parenting, mental health. We all have a wow. Excuse me.
Are you gonna cry? You're gonna make me cry.
No, I'm not crying. I just had a burp from this awful.
I know.
You're not crying.
Non-alcoholic
It makes you
beer.
burp. It really makes you burp.
It really interrupted my speech pattern. Right
Yeah,
there.
it was really good,
I was trying to be
too.
like really flowing and giving a good close to the
my
show.
gosh,
and I
it's
just
classic.
Bombed it.
Oh no, you're fine.
Do you want to try again?
Yeah, do it again. You got to do. I was really getting into it.
Welcome to the Thread. Actually, goodbye from the Threads podcast.
God, thank you for
Life
having me.
Unfiltered.
Thank you for having me. You guys are great. You really are.
It's
Thank
been a
you.
blast.
Your audience is awesome too.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
thanks. Have a good night, guys. All right.
So is that